Meeting of July 11, 2017, here at the Harvard Room. We're going to call to order. This meeting will be seen live and recorded for future broadcast on WCAT. Can I have a pledge of allegiance, please? Council, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if I could ask you all to stand for a moment. Just want to have a moment of silence for Alan Peabody. Alan Peabody was involved with the Beautification Committee for many, many years. He had an illness that took him far too soon. He was a guy that you saw on the streets all the time picking up trash. He was an activist. He was always on our backs, so to speak, to make sure that we kept things clean and neat. And he'll be missed in the community, so we'd like to have a moment of silence for Alan Peabody, please. Thank you. Roll call?
Council Ingman. Here. Council Callow. Present. Council Christopher.
Here.
Council Terry.
Here.
Council Boyajin.
Yep.
Council Barone.
Present.
Council Davento.
Yep.
Vice President Boncory. President Sampson.
Here.
Thank you.
We'd like a motion to accept the minutes of June 20th, 2017
Motion.
as circulated.
Motion.
Motion's been made. Second. Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries. Public hearings. We're going to continue a public hearing regarding the mobile restroom trailer. It's a transfer of $26,750 from general stabilization. Everybody should have in their packet some information that we received a number of meetings ago, I think, at this point. So I'd like to open up for public hearings. Anybody from the public?
Manning, precinct 3. Where's this going?
The thought, if I'm correct, is Ural Beach.
Yes, I mean, that's the idea, was to improve the facilities at Ural Beach and start the process of really making a comfort station for folks at Ural Beach. But the good news is this is mobile, so it wouldn't be permanently there. It would be available for events if the town needed it to supplement an event, say at Miller Field or at the center, for example. It could be moved.
Okay, so it's a mobile unit.
Yes, it's a mobile unit, yeah.
Ural Beach would be the primary
Right.
station during the summer months.
Right.
Now we have their
Porta potties.
porta potties.
Yeah.
And again, this is a mobile unit that could be used at other events throughout
Was
the
the
town.
Conservation Committee asked if it could be put on Ural Beach before it's even transferred the money for it to be going to Ural Beach? Was the Conservation Committee even asked if it was possible that we put down there?
I can't answer that right
This
now.
is actually, technically, it's still in committee. It hasn't come out of committee with any sort of positive recommendation
So
yet.
why are we transferring money?
We're not.
We're
just a
continuing a public hearing. Through the chair, please, if you don't mind.
Okay, so I say that I'm totally against transferring any money anywhere until we know exactly what the committee says to do with it and where is it going and exactly what it's for.
Appreciate it, thank you. Any other comments, public, on the mobile restroom trailer from the public? If not, we will close that
Well,
public.
I think we should keep it open because it doesn't come out of committee.
Okay, so we're going to keep the hearing open until we get some kind of referral from the committee.
Motion to continue the hearing.
Motion to continue, can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it will be continued. Public comment? Being son, identify yourself, please.
Bob Manning, precinct 3. I'd like to know if we got the money back from Quincy for the ferry that they were going to give us when we decided to allocate the transfer of funds on word that we were getting the money back for them.
Like me to respond to that?
Please, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yes, we're under agreement with Mass Department of Transportation for those funds.
That's what was said though, under agreement and actually receiving the funds
Yeah.
are two different things.
No,
So
no.
did we receive a check from them?
The funds are
What-
allocated.
If you can just state your comment, and we're not going to go back and forth, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just curious if we received the funds that were under agreement when the council decided before the budget needed to be closed last month, that they agreed that they were allocating the funds because They were promised the funds back, so I am just curious if we were actually received the check from Quincy that we were promised at this point.
I'll take that in consideration, I'll find out and I'll get back to you, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Julia Wallace?
Hi. Julia Waller, sorry, I come directly from teaching kindergarten. This is my daughter Maya.
Hi, Maya.
Just wanted to come and give you guys all a direct invitation to the parking workshop that the Transportation Committee is organizing on Thursday. So I have one flyer for each of you. I'm sure you've heard already, but we're very excited to bring Jason Schreiber from Nelson Nygarden to do a public workshop on innovative strategies to manage our parking supply in a way that facilitates economic development but doesn't harm urban character, that makes it easier to get to the downtown and all around town by all sorts of modes. Driving, walking, biking, transit, you name it. So I'm really excited for this opportunity. I used to work with him, and I hope you all can make it on Thursday. If you have any questions, certainly let me know. And also just a really brief update from the Transportation Committee. We met with MBTA last week, and we are continuing to work on the fare media gap with the new buses, with the lack of Charlie card technology. And so I'll be in touch about that. But it's going to be probably another 2 years until those buses get the new fare system, that automated fare collection, which we think is way too long. So in the meantime, we're very much on top of it and hope that we have either a sticker system or the handheld machines that will take Charlie cards, or these boxes where you could buy the Zone passes around town at places like the Marketplace and the Book Depot. So stay tuned about that, and I hope to see you all on Thursday.
Thank you, Julia. Okay,
And everybody in the audience, please come on Thursday too. Sorry. Follow. You too.
we're going to, at this point, any other public comment? That's all. If not, we're going to review the appointment that filled the Precinct 5 council vacancy at this point in time. I'm going to ask Councilor Christopher, if you don't mind taking a seat. And I think you talked about recusing yourself. So.
Yeah, I've recused myself of the vote.
Just a brief explanation, then we'll move things forward. The town has never been in a position to fill a council vacancy before. Additionally, the charter does not detail the type of notice required to fill this vacancy, but simply requires 7 days' notice. In fact, the vacancy was publicly discussed well in advance of the vote at the June 6th Town Council meeting and properly noticed in accordance with the open meeting law on June 20th Town Council meeting. Nonetheless, out of an abundance of caution and to dispel any appearance from the public that they were not properly notified, the vote regarding Precinct 5 vacancy was re-noticed for tonight's meeting and posted on the agenda and on the website at least 7 days ago. The motion, if you can take the gavel, if you don't mind. Sure. I make a motion that we move to ratify the June 20th appointment of Peter Christopher to the Town Council Precinct 5 position.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded.
The motion's been made, go on,
Motion's been made
made and
and
seconded.
seconded. Any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll ask Council Clerk for a roll call vote.
Counsel Ingman?
Yes.
Counsel Callow?
Yes.
Counsel Terry?
Yes.
Counsel Boyajin?
Yes.
Counsel Barone?
Yes.
Counsel Dalvento?
Yes.
Vice President Boncory? President Sanford?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion's passed
Welcome.
unanimously. I'm going to pass the gavel back to Council President.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome back, Peter Christopher. And thank you to Council England for helping me out with that language. I appreciate it. Next thing we have is correspondence. We've got two pieces of correspondence. One is the neighborhood petition on main gas line replacement, Woodside Avenue in Center. First of all, I want to thank everybody who signed it. We've got a number of signatures. I think, first of all, I think most of that work has been completed. Town manager, am I correct?
Yes.
And I could actually say Jim Lettieri also, since he sits on that street. So we're going to acknowledge the petition. The work has been done, so I don't think there's any need to pursue anything regarding Woodside Avenue.
Well,
Just a clarification.
Yeah,
It made
okay.
known to me. We still have service connections to make
Okay.
on several residences.
Okay.
That are remaining incomplete.
Council President?
Yes.
There are services connections throughout the
Okay.
whole
The whole
project.
part, Pleasant Street.
Now that the mains have been installed, or just about completely finished installed,
Yeah.
they'll energize the lines and they'll start connections.
Okay.
When the connections go across the street, they have to close the street off. They will contact residences, which they have been doing, and try to make appointments that are as convenient as possible for the residents. But there are several connections to be made on all the streets, on Woodside, on Bartlett, on Pleasant.
Hundreds, yeah.
Yeah, hundreds of connections.
Yeah.
Hundreds of these.
So there will be some, National Grid has informed us, at least a couple of weeks ago, that they plan on being done with their work in this part of the project by the end of August, last week in August. So there will still be some congestion and things that we'll just have to deal with to get this part of the project done, but they should be out of Winthrop by the end of August.
We did ask them to try to make Pleasant Street a priority, and to do all the services on Pleasant first, and then work off the finger streets and open Pleasant. So at least the flow to those finger streets won't be, we can close one a day
Right.
and get those services done, so other streets will be operational once the Pleasant Street project is done.
Yeah.
Some of these services won't have to go all the way across, they might be able to punch through, but there'll be those occasions that we'll have to dig a trench straight across, so.
Okay. And it has been an inconvenience for many people in town, myself included, but this is some of the benefits on the other side are gonna prove to be very worthy of some of the inconveniences we have now. So I ask you to be patient, and we'll continue to work with DPW and police and fire to make sure businesses are not affected and residents have as much access as possible. Thank you. Next thing is a memorandum of understanding we received, the Save Our Ports Committee. And I have received it and had a chance to read it. A couple of things, and I appreciate the grassroots committee and all the information you brought forward, not only with this particular issue or concern or consideration, but going through the whole process. We still haven't determined, what direction, I shouldn't say that. We determined that we wanted to wait a little while to see what direction we were going to take with the high school port. I don't think there's been any decisions or conversations from this council or through the town manager's office relative to taking that away and making it parking and/or making sure it stays there. But we had made you a promise a while ago, and that promise, and I know I'm not going to be here, I'll be here for another 6 or 8 months. But beyond that, I think the council has made a commitment to do that study and not to do anything before you were notified, and to take into consideration every aspect, whether it's parking or whether it's convenience, and the special needs that it's used for, as well as the tennis courts being of convenience. So I ask you to be patient. We can't really accept this as a committee because it's not a town committee, it's a grassroots committee. But we will obviously take into consideration your passion and your concern about the courts down at the high school. Anyone else from council like to? Yeah.
Just a not so much on the memorandum, but one other thing that might be a concern is that there are bikes and people riding on the actual new courts, and I don't know where we are about securing them so that they're not destroying it. Do we have an update on that at all? That would be helpful, I think, for people to.
Give that to the Millerfield. That update will be coming through the Millerfield committee report.
All right. Councilor Ingram?
And we had discussed in the past having TSAC and the Transportation Committee review the various safety issues and possible parking solutions in the area, and I don't know where that stands or if that's something we
I think that's something
should push forward with
Yeah.
at this point.
We're going to be putting a committee together for the overnight parking, which will include some of those entities. However,
Yeah.
that's a separate consideration than this. And I don't think there's been any urgency, from my point of view, and it may be different from your point of view, because I didn't see anybody really pushing to make any change over at the high school. At least it's not been on my radar, so. Yeah.
But if we're gonna consider whether or not we need to, put a parking lot there or not, we probably should get them working on it to give us what they think, the solution, if there are alternative solutions or if that's the only solution there. I think that's kind of what the crux of the argument is.
And if there are,
Go on, no.
Oh, if there are-
Then I'll get counsel.
safety issues with regard to the sidewalks and the streets and the crossing, we need to get that addressed, and
Right.
hopefully we can do it while keeping the courts in place.
Right,
But
absolutely.
we have to address the safety issues at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't we take
Councilor
that
Callan.
clause out of the job description for that? Wasn't that removed?
It was removed from the Millerfield
It was,
Committee, and
yeah.
it's still in a hiatus period. Basically, we
Mhm.
haven't made a decision one way or the other.
Yeah,
But the Millerfield Committee, it's not under its purview.
right.
Mhm. Town manager?
My recollection, and I'm always
Yeah.
nervous about my own memories of things, but from the public meeting that we had,
Right.
I believe the expression was made that we needed more time to really evaluate
Yeah.
the situation and to see if the cause was there to consider change, and that the experience of
Mhm.
traffic around after Millerfield was built and seeing
Right.
how, the use of the area is accommodating to the people, if there's really a need to make that change.
Mhm.
And that we needed time to see whether or not that was, proven to be true or not. And so I think we wanted to have a good year of experience to go by before we stepped in and made any
Yeah,
evaluation.
and I believe that was the crux of that meeting.
Yeah.
We wanted to give it at least a year through season, make sure the Miller Field was open, get a sense of what was happening in and around the high school with multiple events happening at any given time. So that's where we are, I think, today.
So the timeline would be through probably Thanksgiving of 2018 then, to look at I think if that's what you're saying, that's fine, I just want to kind of clarify it. So we form a committee to look at that sometime between now and,
I would say yes.
okay. No, I
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with it.
I don't think there's any urgency for us to make any changes there, aside from, as Councilor Ingman had said, regarding safety. We have to make sure that kids are safe, bicycles or whatever, parking. But as far as making a change, making that becoming parking at this moment in time or in the foreseeable future, I don't see that happening. It hasn't been any urgency to make that change as of yet, and I don't think it's anything that we're looking to have an answer for right away. Again, I'd like to see it go through the seasons, so to speak, and see actually how it unfolds. Anyone else? Okay. Next on our agenda is committee reports, public safety.
All right, yes, Public Safety met last night, July 10th. We started here at 6:30 and ended up in council chambers. In attendance were Councilor Varone, Chief Flanagan, Chief Delahanty, Town Manager Jim McKenna, former Councilor Jean Maggio, Leanna Rizzioni Callahan, Peter Christopher, our newly voted Precinct 5 Councilor, and Councilor Engman and myself. We began the meeting at 6:30, and first on the agenda was the Peer Recovery Coach Program. We discussed full-time employment options for 2 recovery coaches by the town of Winthrop versus an agency-based program. Liability and cost to the town was discussed. There are various differences between an agency-based model and Winthrop's current model. The committee is in the process of setting up a meeting with CAPIC, one of the agencies interested in working with Winthrop, to discuss and compare the differences in cost, impact, liability, responsibilities, and services from our current model under the CASA organization. Town Manager McKenna is still waiting to hear back from Maya, the town's insurance carrier, to get answers regarding liability coverage, i.e. some type of an umbrella policy situation, which may be obviously needed in order to support the program under the town's employment and the costs associated with that additional coverage. Town Manager also reached out to town attorneys for an opinion on liability and is currently waiting for a response. In addition to providing services for opioid and other addictions, the Public Health and Safety Committee would like the town residents to know that we have not lost sight of all the other medical issues happening throughout the town. The committee's recommendation is to identify the needs and objectives of our Public Health Department and look for ways to expand the department and its services in the next 2 to 5 years. Second on the agenda was the discussion of a much-needed new public safety building. The fire station, the Center Fire Station, was built in 1887 and is constantly being maintained by our firefighters from both the center and beach locations. The question is not, do we need a new public safety facility, but where do we put it and how do we pay for it? Some questions were, do we rehab the existing building, do we demolish it, or do we find an alternative location? We hope to obtain somewhere in the vicinity of 3 to 5 locations or ideas for a new facility. Should the new public safety facility include the fire department, police department, and the ambulance service all in one? There were so many other questions that came up. Chief Flanagan stated an RFP for an engineer is currently in the works to figure out the cost and scope of such a project. Our committee is open for suggestions and ideas. Please feel free to send along your ideas to the council. Further information will follow, and our meeting was adjourned at 8:30.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. President,
Yep. Councilor.
to the Public Safety Committee, as one of the town's representatives on the Board of Directors of CAPIC, if you want to have me involved in that, I'd be more than happy to do it. I'm very familiar with the HUB program. I worked with Dan Cortez over the past 5 years, helping set that up, which is the one they have in Chelsea, for wraparound services. So it could maybe have an asset on that for you.
Councilor Ingman, did you have anything you wanted to add to the meeting? Anything? Okay. Sure, we'll let you know.
Council Davento, thank you. Next on our agenda is Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Sure. The Economic Development Citizen Advisory Committee met last week, I believe on Thursday evening. And the committee first reviewed the proposal from the citizens group for a new community center and skating facility. And it was sort of the short version of the presentation that was given before the council a couple of weeks ago. The EDCAC voted that they believe the new proposal for the community center development is consistent with the town's master plan for the Center Business District. And the EDCAC supports the proposal to relocate the rink. And I think the reason for that is it makes a little bit better use of the property there. So while they support at this point the proposal to relocate the rink in order to make better use of that property, the thought is that further cost-benefit analysis is required for the remainder of the project, which would be the pool and the community center and any housing that goes on the site. The second agenda item for the EDCAC was review of the proposals from landscape architects. The committee reviewed 5 proposals and broke them down to, I guess, make sure that they all were providing an estimate on the same items, and the recommendation was made to interview a couple of the landscape architect firms before moving forward with the center, the surface work in the CBD.
Right, okay. And is that the end of your report? Anything you wanted to add to that? Town manager?
We certainly want to, in my report, I was going to announce, the fact that we've been given word that we'll have an event on next Friday.
Okay.
And I don't want to preempt the speaker or the governor in that announcement, so I'll leave it at that. But word is that some good news will be coming to Winthrop.
On the 21st?
Yes.
Yeah.
At 12 o'clock. So
news at 11, you said. So good news is coming on the 21st.
Yes, but I don't
We'll
want to
leave it at that
preempt
for right now.
their press releases.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Relative to the landscape architects?
Yeah.
If you can give a
I
little
think
update.
that there's been some clarity brought by the committee and the staff to understand what people are looking for, how that's going, and I think that there's full engagement now to go out again on a RFP to request landscape architecture services. It's really, time is of the essence, and we all know that, but it really is, and yet here we have to go again. And this is the lugubrious process of the government, having to go through these processes in order to bring people on. But it's going to mean that we have to have a plan reviewed and proposed and accepted by the council somewhere in the neighborhood of September in order for us to get our contracts in line, in order for us to meet the timelines that we're going to have to meet relative to construction. So time is of the essence. And so we may, and managers meeting, we were discussing the idea of just starting a pilot process while this process of hiring a landscape architect is underway, looking at transportation ideas that came out of the master plan, and to perhaps try a trial and error kind of thing in the center, looking at traffic flow and making slight adjustments and seeing how they go. Sort of under the vein of what we did, up at the right here at the corner before we stop.
Yeah.
Just to pilot something. I'm asking public safety officials to and Steve Calla to look at proposing an idea of a new travel route and identifying how that would work relative to the plan, and then seeing what we can do to adopt a temporary order of the council to allow for that, so that we can try it. And that will be informative, I think, to the landscape issues that will come forward from it.
Okay. And we want to make sure we give the neighbors notice relative to any changes in
Right.
traffic patterns,
Right.
As well as the businesses.
Right.
But there would be pilot programs.
Right.
And time is of the essence. We want to get this stuff moving as quickly as possible. Anything else from the council? If not, we'll move on to Millerfield Committee report.
The Millfield Committee meeting to update Ingleside Park is done for the work that was going on down there. 4 tennis courts are completed, and the roller rink park is completed and painted. Also, pickleball courts have been painted on 2 of the tennis courts for use. The question was brought up earlier about security, and we have asked Parks and Rec Director Sean Driscoll to go out to other municipalities with similar facilities to see what they had done with security. He is going to report to us back. We have money put aside for security. We think it's extremely important. We've spent upwards of $550,000 on these facilities. We don't want them ruined. And I think some of them are not bad intentions. It's just poor decisions. And the plan was over the 4th of July weekend to keep the courts locked with keys available. I'm not sure how that worked out, but I live in the area. I have seen kids over there, and again, not being mischievous, just being kids. And if you leave it open, they're going to come in. So we're trying to work on a security measure that we should have in place by the middle to the end of August. Also, on the skating rink worked out fine. The roller rink worked out fine with the painting been done at the beginning of last week. And that's it on the security down there. As far as Miller Field, a lot of technical stuff, not technical, but removing trees. But this week they're going to be removing tree stubs along the banks of Veterans Road swale. Continue the subgrade excavation of the current Miller Field. We have to bring it down and level. And then we'll start backfilling in this lightweight shale subgrade of the field. So basically it will be used as a compact so the field won't sink. And then we'll begin doing the installation of the field drainage itself. And you should see, again, what they're telling us is by the beginning of September, you'll start to see turf being put in. All the track has been removed. So it's going well right now. That is it on Miller Field. Any questions from the council? Or Ingleside?
So we're on the timeline for the Millfield project.
Timeline for the Miller Field, they're telling us there should be substantial completion of the field and the stands, bleachers, by the end of October, beginning of November. So they're saying that the football team should have 2 to 3 weeks time to practice on the field before Thanksgiving.
So I guess the only other thing would be with the Ingleside. Is there any way to secure it between now and middle to end of August, I guess?
Yes, it is. We want it done as soon as possible, and the plan has been to have, and I have not checked down there every night, but the plan has been to, I know during the day Parks and Rec is using the facility. and maintaining it, and the plan is to have the facility locked with keys available, which is what we've done several years ago. Other communities that we've looked at had cards that you would go in and you'd get a card for $2 and you'd keep the card for the season. You wouldn't have to keep returning the card, so you'd have access to the courts when you needed access to the courts. And then at the end of the year, what some towns do is they change the code on it, so then you have to get new cards, so you can't just keep passing them around or whatever. So we're looking at different alternatives and different, and we hope to have a decision at our next meeting, which will be the first week in August.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the council? If not, town managers report.
Yes, good evening. Thanks. I really am proud of the town for its July 4th events. I think we showcased the community very well. The fireworks were spectacular and extended. So we thank the chief for that and all what the fire department did to organize and have a great event. Police department as well for their help and safety. So it was all in all, a good event for the town. I think the town really has showcased itself well these past few weeks, and so many things going on. And this town is clean. I just look at the front of Town Hall, and today, I'm amazed at how beautiful the Town Hall looks. And that's the extra effort that so many of our staff are putting in to make the town a beautiful community. And it's starting to really show itself well throughout the town. Now, we got work to do. We got plenty of going on, and I'll be talking a little bit about that. But still, I think the town has a lot to be proud of in terms of how staff is taking care of our streets and of our parks and of our beaches and whatnot. The town expects to receive favorable word from the MassWorks grant next Friday. So I'd ask those who are here on Friday at noon in the center to come be there for an announcement. More to come on that. More to follow, but it's a very exciting time for the town. The parking management seminar has already been discussed, so we're very thankful to Julia Wallace and the Transportation Committee for their work to get that expertise in the town to consider that the very important issues of parking now that we're going forward with the center project. It all sort of is now aligning and dovetailing together, so we need a lot of things to happen. The routes, the parking identified, how we're going to allow for development, how we're going to absorb it. All of those things are ongoing matters that we'll need to have continuous conversations with the Economic Development Subcommittee, the EDCAC, and also the Center Committee that is due to be formed by the Council. So, a lot going on. I am discussing with the Planning Board the hiring of a planner for the Planning Board. We have a little committee of the Planning Board, David Stacio and Bob Carroll are helping to identify and go through an RFP process to solicit planning services for the Planning Board and for the town as a whole. We are moving forward with the sidewalk replacement contract. Thank you, Director Calla. 1,500 square yards to be installed. Yep. So you'll see more improvement in sidewalks continuing. I think we're in our 4th year of sidewalk replacement, and it's starting to show. We're making progress there. I did have some success this week. Thank you to the director, as well as I want to acknowledge Nick Del Vento on this as well. The DCR has agreed to split the cost, essentially, of the water main installation along Shore Drive with the town. That means that a $1.4 million project will only cost the town $700,000. So that's really good news for the community because and a good partnership with DCR. We made the argument that the improvements planned for Shore Drive should have contemplated the removal and installation of a new water main, given the fact that it was there, pre-existing condition, and should have been identified. It was not identified by their engineers as a cost of the project. So I'm grateful for the negotiations that we had with DCR and their willingness to accept a partial responsibility for that. So that's good news all the way around. I really feel that Commissioner Roy, is really trying his best to be a friend of Winthrop and to do the right thing when the right thing is there and needing to be done. As well, the DCR will be having a public meeting on Tuesday, July 25th at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8:30, to discuss the proposal for the off-leash dog recreation area proposed for that area at Kilmartin Path at Belle Isle Marsh. They have to have a public hearing when land is used for purposes, and so it's incumbent upon them to have a posted meeting in the town affected. So this meets their obligations, but I'm sure both those who are concerned and those who are supportive of this project will be there to voice their issues and comments. So that's Tuesday.
The 25th.
And, pardon me?
It's a joint meeting.
Joint meeting, okay.
That's correct. Joint meeting, DPW.
DPW subcommittee. I see the notice here, and it doesn't have you properly noticed on it, so unfortunately, that's too bad. We are looking at a couple of financial issues that we need to perhaps move with some level of expediency. Our Contract 5 project appears to be underfunded due to construction escalation costs and the scope of the project. Now that we've done some work there, we've realized that there's more to be done to make it an effective project. The infrastructure is, we've had 2 breaks, right, Steve, in the past month there, and it's more deteriorated than originally thought. So there's a lot to be done in Contract 5. Steve, do you want to add anything to this?
No, just that, as you said, we did just encounter further main work than we were hoping to have to deal with at this time, but the water main between Governor's Drive and Central Ave is at a point now that does need to be addressed. So those costs, with just the timing of the project and the escalation cost of construction, we are going to have to probably go after an MWRA zero interest loan. It's available to us. We'll be bringing that to you.
Yeah. So we'll be proposing at the next council meeting, assuming that we get our letter into MWRA over the next few days and we get an action from them on the 19th at their meeting, we will then be proposing both water loan authorization for the Contract 5 additional funding, as well as the town's portion of the water main on Shore Drive. So it'll be roughly in the neighborhood of a $1.5 million loan order that we'll be looking for from the town on a zero interest loan through the MWRA SRF fund. And that's all I have.
Council Bunkard? Vice President Bunkard.
I just want to point out, you were talking about the 4th of July and the fireworks were fantastic this year, and Chief should be commended. We also should commend the Point Shirley Association and Peter Gobiel on running a great parade and field day that day. There were a ton of people there. And Eagle Beach now is getting well overpacked because Winthrop Beach is in such bad shambles. So I'm glad to see that we have the 2 lifeguard positions there, and they're put in the right place this year, where the crowds actually are. But I've noticed that both lifeguards are sitting on only one of them. There's no one manning the one that's further down the beach away from the opening. And I think, I don't know if there's a reason why the 2 of them are being together rather than one on each seat covering the middle. But I don't know if somebody could look into
we'll look into that.
The need of that.
I will tell you that we had 2 rescues
Yes, I
over
know
the
that
past
we did.
few weeks that were vitally, obviously, kids involved. So,
I saw one where a float was drifting away, and they said that.
so it's a good thing that we have.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anything else from council? Council Lettieri?
A couple things. We talked about the improvements on Winthrop Shore Drive. Now, a couple years back, maybe 2 or 3 years back now, I think Director Calloway had asked to possibly have use of that curbing for other areas of Winthrop when they do the sidewalks over. Is that still going to be in play?
I can certainly.
There's a couple of miles, basically, of curbing there that we could definitely use around the town.
Granite curb?
Yeah, the granite curbing that I think we had talked about a couple of
We
years
did,
back.
actually,
What
yeah.
they weren't sure, and what we can ask the question on Tuesday night, they weren't sure if that curve was gonna be R&R, meaning removed and reset, or if
Okay.
they were gonna provide new granite. So I gotta find out scope of their phase two, and if we're getting new granite, absolutely we'll request that curve.
Okay. And the other thing, through the chair, is, we've been talking a lot about development in town and parking and this and that, but I just find it concerning going out of Winthrop. We talk about in Winthrop. We don't talk about going out of Winthrop enough. And the heights, it just gets worse and worse and worse to me. And I don't see it getting better anytime soon.
I
We
experience it
seem to
every
be,
day.
we seem to be very much not in a lot of talks with anything. I mean, light cycles, sometimes they change, and now they seem to be going against Winthrop again with the light cycles. So I really think we need, and, to continue that, I would like to have somebody from Massport or somebody in here to talk about the project, since they've removed the tolls from the Sumner Tunnel, how that configuration is gonna work. I mean, I guess in the end, we're all gonna find out, but it would be nice if we had some early warning of what they plan on configuring there. Because getting into the tunnel now is just a disaster, because they have 4 lanes going into 1 or whatever, so. But the heights, since they put the bump out at the curb before the heights, you can't use that 3rd lane, so the traffic backs up, and it's almost into Winthrop one most, and it's not just 8 to 9 in the morning, it's most of the day. It's all the time, and we're talking about bringing more and more and more development in, which means more and more cars, because that's why we're talking about parking, which means they have to leave at some point, and we really have to get Boston involved and try to be an ally of us and work with us on traffic eliminate, leaving Winthrop, because I don't see any 3rd entrance coming anytime soon. I don't see a 3rd tunnel coming to Winthrop. So I really would like to try to get on the ball with Winthrop, with Boston, to see if, light cycles and anything that could be thought of or done.
Have we had any success in the past? I know we have here and there, and I think the chief has been there, or maybe for the town manager's office.
We have had them change the lights a couple of times.
Yeah.
It
It
hasn't-
usually came from Senator Petroselli's office.
Right.
They it's their transportation department that does the light cycles, not their police department. So it's a big conglomerate compared to us that we kind of do everything. So usually the senator's office, or again, the speaker's office, or the manager try to work with the mayor to get his crew in to talk to us.
Yeah.
Do you have any connections with the senator's office?
We got good connections.
I mean, they did do some great work with eliminating the no turn on red signs, which they enacted, went way back, but it's just, I mean, that goes back to, I think,
No,
Mount
you're
Chloe
right.
Law Office now. It's just a very long wait to get out of town.
If we can, through the town manager's
Yeah.
office and the senator's office, and
Yeah.
with the speaker, if we can kind of coordinate something. That'd be
We
helpful
had,
for
we had,
everyone.
when we did the bridge over, we had very
Right.
good
Yeah.
relationships with Boston about that whole
Yes.
bridge project. So we can go back to our contacts and see if there's more.
We
available.
should
And
have
again-
a problem with Gina Pindaco, who's the transportation director in Boston, because she's from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So we should have
Yeah,
able to contact.
right.
Anything else?
And just one last thing, we had talked about the center and doing some, mock setups of impending traffic or whatever,
Yeah.
but I know Director Callis says it all the time, basically, about us making decisions on this. When do we anticipate, I mean, we talked earlier about National Grid being out of Winthrop by the end of August. When do we anticipate the major part of this project starting, which is the water and sewer?
Well, I have not
And I mean, I
conferred
know
with
it
Steve
can't
and-
start
and
until
others
the
on it.
council
Right.
decide.
It's all been kind of, aligned to funding and aligned to,
Mhm.
the schedule of contracting. But I think it's a fair question. Why don't I try to put together a little more precision on when to calendar this, when sitting down with our engineers and with Steve. Assuming that funding aligns and everything works out. we'll hopefully look at a best-case scenario and get back to you on.
And does funding have a time frame that it has to be used?
Generally, it does. You know, there are fiscal year conditions. So the good news is, when we get the funding, we have to spend it, and we have to spend it quickly. And so that means that compels us to perform quickly. So, you know, once it's underway, it's got to go very, very quickly.
But the negative with that is it makes us make decisions quickly,
Yeah.
because the money's there, we have to spend it, and then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we have to make a decision, and I know the director's been talking about this for months, and so by the next council meeting, can we have some sort of timeframe?
Yeah, that's a fair request.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else in
A
council?
follow up to that, we had talked in the past about doing a peer review of the engineering
Mhm.
work,
Yeah.
and I can't recall, I don't remember where that left off.
We
or
did
what-
get quotes on peer review, right, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we identified a firm, didn't we?
Kaufman Environmental
Yeah.
has agreed to do it. They've actually got the plan set. They should be reviewing it at this time.
Yeah. So that's underway.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Anything else, any other council? Anything else from the town
That's
manager?
it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to old business, and I'll start with the first. I'm going to pass it on to our finance chairman. The transfer of $26,750, we've tabled that until,
That's still
So,
tabled
in
there.
committee.
it's still in committee, so we're going to wait on that. The remaining transfers, Council Del Vento, if you're here.
Mr. President, the Finance Committee didn't meet on these items, but with it under the 25,000 threshold, they don't have to have hearings or advertising. So I'll make the motions individually, and that would be to move the town council vote the use of Park and Recreation retained earnings in the amount of $18,800 to fund summer program payroll 671-630-512204, 13,800 in recreational activities, 671-673-052535-100, 5,000 for the remainder of fiscal year 2017, and take any other action relative thereto.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I'm also going to move the town council transfer $9,450 from the Waterway Reserve Fund appropriations to a special article for purchase and installation of vending machine system for the management and delivery of boat launch slips at the public landing, or take any other action relative thereto.
Motion. Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion, please. I don't, did we have any background information on how this project was going to work, or?
So that actually we were able to accommodate within the departmental budget, so just transferring from another line, so they actually no longer need that.
So we're going to withdraw it?
That's the 9,400, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's, I informed the council today that we've withdrawn that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Council. Anything else?
15, yep. I just want to make sure I get the... One more, but I lost it.
Which one do you need, Council? I have it
The
here.
MIS personnel one, okay, here it is, I'm sorry.
You got it?
Yep, one thing about technology, it's not like paper, you can move fast. I move the town council vote a budgetary transfer of $15,000 from the MIS personnel line 01155151100 and 11,751 from 0132152532501 North Shore Agricultural 2 be dispersed as grants, account 0113151511100, personnel 5980, assessing 0114151511100, personnel 4100, treasurer collector 40 0114551511100 personnel, 5575. Town clerk, 0116151511100 personnel, 9950. And conservation, 0117151511100 personnel, $966. To fund payrolls through June 30th, 2017, or to take any other action relative thereto.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion on that?
Councilman
I just wanted to, maybe I heard it wrong. I thought you said 11,751, where it should be 11,571.
It could have.
Okay.
Well, there were a lot of fives in that.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's written. Well, what, if
The motion as presented.
Yeah.
the motion is
Motion as
presented, okay.
presented. Okay,
All right.
incorrect.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Was that all you had, Council?
Yes.
Thank you. No, okay. Next item on the, and first of all, let me just go back a second. School department update. I was not able to attend the school committee meeting last night, so I cannot give you an update. However, I did talk to the superintendent today, and she said there was nothing critical on their agenda, and I will be attending and bringing a report going forward. Senate Business District overnight residential parking.
That's been tabled, and until the Transportation Committee and CT meet, and I think the planning board also. So it's on the table.
Well, we'd like to, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, we'd like to put a committee together. We had discussed before. I don't know if I have to pass the gavel over to my vice president for a moment. We'd like to form a committee comprised of member of the planning board, member of TSAC, member of the Transportation Committee, member of the Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee, as well as one counselor to study the overnight parking considerations in and around the Senate Business District. That's in the form of a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Second? Okay. You're in charge, right?
Yes. Any discussion on the motion?
I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
The motion is to put a committee together consisting of chairman of the planning board, one member of TSAC, chairman of the Transportation Committee, chairman of the Economic Citizens Advisory Committee, and one counselor,
Or their designees.
or their designees, correct. And that would be to study the recommendations or considerations for overnight parking in the Center Business District.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion, Richard?
Would there be any reason to include, did it say a Senate business owner? I didn't know if that would be something you'd want to include on the
Yeah.
committee.
I think what we tried to do with this particular committee, it'll be public input, obviously,
Mhm.
but we tried to keep it to the standing committees from the council. And I think that's where we'd like to keep it at this point. Not to say that they wouldn't invite or have hearings, invite input from others, but I'd like it to remain as part of these committees that we have in place through the council.
Any other discussion?
I'd recommend Councilor Boncory to sit on that committee.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So voted.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda, middle school site rezoning recommendation from Economic Citizens Advisory Committee. Let's see if we have that here.
By you.
And this is a motion submitted by Town Manager. The motion, I move that the Town Council amend the zoning code of the Town of Winthrop to include the town-owned land located at 141 to 151 Pauline Street, known as the site of the former middle school, auditorium, and gymnasium, as part of the Center Business District to the Town of Winthrop, and include it as such in the town zoning maps, or to take any other action thereto. Motion's been made.
And there's a motion that this be
Yeah, it
sent
has
to
to
the
be.
planning board? Because the planning board has to see any zoning before it comes back to the council.
Correct.
So I would make a
And-
motion that we send this motion to the planning board,
Second that.
asking them for a recommendation.
Okay. That's been made and seconded.
Discussion.
discussion? Yes, Councilor.
This is, the EDCAC had also had a recommendation for zoning of the old middle school site, which
Correct.
isn't exactly what's articulated in this motion. And so I would like the planning board to review the
Okay,
EDCAC
absolutely.
recommendation on zoning as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll refer that to the planning board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Next on our agenda, Public Safety Building Committee. That's going to sit as a subcommittee right now, or Council Callan?
Yes, we haven't gotten to that, point yet.
Right, okay.
Okay. we're
But it was a
waiting
good
for
meeting
more
last night,
information.
as I've heard. So we'll be studying further and
Yeah, I
making
don't know
some
if
decisions.
Chief Flanagan wants to contribute anything to the meeting last night.
No, what we did, I think a lot of good discussion came out of last night's meeting, and what we were gonna do is we were gonna come up with what we feel 3 or 4 sites, bring them to the council, and then prior, when the RFP goes out,
Right.
they will focus on, those 3 sites and bring something back.
Great, okay, thank you. So that is in motion, we just want to let the public know that we haven't forgotten that, and it's very important for the town going forward, so. New business, fiscal year 17? Not going to do that.
We have completed the closeout of 17, and now we're in fiscal 18. And thank you to the finance team for not having a lot of homework or housekeeping to handle for the council. So I appreciate that. We took care of a lot of issues to tie up loose ends, but all in all, we were able to do it without having to take extra action by the council. So that's a good report. And we're in discussions about a matter that I may or may not be reporting to the council next meeting, but we're still deliberating with all the finance team on a matter regarding the use of free cash relative to the funding of the Chromebooks. And we're having a bit of a philosophical debate right now whether or not we needed to advertise that matter before using the free cash. But stay tuned. We're working it out.
Okay, great. Okay, next under new business is Winthrop Community Center Advisory Committee. This is a committee that started off as kind of a grassroots committee. Joe Aiello, Lisa, Michael Ruzioni were all involved in this, and I was part of that discussion going along. They presented to the council at our last meeting a presentation for potential use of the middle school land that includes some residential, some mixed use, possibility of a community center, which we've all talked about for many, many, many years, as well as relocation possibly of the rink to accommodate some additional housing and taking consideration the grade of the property. We'd like to make that, or at least I would like to make that a standing committee with the council. I'm going to pass the gavel again. Working hard tonight, Council Vice President. And the motion would be that the town council create a Winthrop Community Center Advisory Committee consisting of the following members. A member of the planning board, they're going to be very busy also. A member of the Chamber of Commerce, 1 town councilor, 4 citizens members, and 1 youth member, which I think is very important. Town manager brought that to my attention today, as well as a town manager office or a designee from the town manager's office. This would consist of 9 folks, and again, the committee will serve as an advisory capacity to town council. The scope of the committee's advisory role will include all aspects of the Winthrop Community Center.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Councilor Agent.
Would it be wise to include the Parks and Rec director?
That may be the designee for my office.
Yeah, good point. I think we talked about that, Councilor. And yeah, I think that's a good point.
Any other discussion? Councilor Eggman?
I think it's important that we have a public safety official on this committee as well, or somebody from the public safety building committee. I think we potentially have a couple of big projects going forward that need to be done need to be coordinated, and we certainly don't want one thing to move forward at the expense of the other. And I think the public safety building is very important, and I want to make sure that those,
Someone from that particular committee? Okay.
I think it would be helpful.
Okay. And that committee right now consists of just the council,
The
subcommittee of
subcommittee.
council. right?
Yeah.
So if we want to, so what we can do is bring one counselor in, chair, anybody from your committee, in the council, the town council, part of that. Okay, any other discussion?
It was brought to my attention from the police chief that, you know, the police department has had a long-standing relationship on youth and, you know, activities, you know, particularly at night and particularly
Absolutely.
programming for youth. And certainly that voice needs to be heard, you know, in terms of continuum of interest in public safety issues that you know, result from that. So I certainly respect that long-standing interest and wonder how we might fold that into the committee as well.
Mr. President?
Council Devento.
Well, I think the,
No.
we may need to add some technical aspects, but the 5 citizen members, I think who are going to be appointed by the council president, hopefully the council president will take those types of positions into consideration when making the appointment. I don't know if we per se really have to specify it, but maybe just some guidance and counseling in that direction.
No.
Are there any amendments?
The only amendment I would like to make is that they serve 2-year terms.
We're trying to keep the number to a manageable number, but we don't want to leave anybody on. I think public safety and the police chief has a good point. Let me just run down what we have here, and maybe we can have some discussion on Winthrop Planning Board, which I think is important because they're going to be involved in the project, whether it becomes a community center or not. Chamber of Commerce represents many of the businesses in town, in fact, over 300 businesses in town. Town council, which I think, again, could come out of the subcommittee from public safety, that takes care of both issues. We have 4 members, citizen members, and 1 youth. You know, some of the folks who worked hard on this are definitely going to apply, and I'll make the final decisions. I'd like to keep them involved as much as possible. Again, so that's the reason I had 4 members, citizen members. They've done a lot of work putting this stuff together, and one you know, youth, one part of our youth citizenship, and the town manager is designee. And again, we could talk about that being Parks and Recs or someone who designate from your office.
We have to make the project happen.
Yeah, we have to make, exactly.
So that's how we fit in, is grants.
The town manager,
process,
administrating, right.
Moving it.
Any other discussion?
You want
Any
to
other
leave it
thoughts?
like that, or you want to add a 10th member being the...
I like to have it an
chief
odd number.
officer?
Yeah.
I would like to think it should be an odd number too.
And we can make the youth member
Not voting.
ex officio member, not a voting member, or would that be appropriate?
That would be,
Would that be appropriate or not appropriate? I want them to have input here, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a voting member. Any discussion? Yeah. Council Brown?
Well, that would be good. I think that's a good idea, especially if the youth member is under 18 years old. I think that would solve the problem
So they
of
won't vote?
And,
10th
yeah,
person.
they would be, they wouldn't have voting rights. And that being said, I would prefer to have 2 young people on board. Love to have the input, I think it's important. So if we can make that amendment,
Email in, one each chief, or his designee?
yeah,
And
please.
then you have 2 ex officio junior members?
Right, correct.
All right, so, let me
Yeah.
try to read it. I believe there's an amendment coming to say the members will be 1 member of the planning board, 1 member of the Chamber of Commerce, 1 town councilor, 4 citizens, the town manager or his designee, the police chief or his designee, and 2 ex officio youth members.
I'll second that. I'll make that amendment.
That's an amendment, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in the favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Vote is so ordered. Now, on the main motion as
Mr. President?
amended,
Mr.
any
Vice
further
President?
discussion?
Yeah, I think,
Mr. Winthrop?
and you can, I think we do need one more amendment to make this a
Yeah.
little cleaner.
Go on.
And that is that after the words advisory capacity to the town council, you need to insert the words to be appointed as per section 210B of the charter.
What does 210B?
That's the advisory, that members of
Okay.
council president
Yeah.
appoints and all that.
Exactly what
It
this
puts
Yeah,
that-
that's what it says.
It
yeah.
puts all that in
Do
there,
you want a term?
and with the 2-year
And a
term.
2-year term?
And a 2-year term. Okay.
Okay.
I'll second that
Is there a second on the amendment?
I'll second that.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the vote is so ordered. Now, the main motion as amended, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, vote is so ordered.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Vice President. Denise, did you get all that?
Oh, yeah.
I knew you did.
Right on top of it.
I knew you would. All right, next, landscape architect, finally we discussed that. Appointments, I have a couple of appointments here. Motion that the council affirm the appointment of Joanne Hillman and Larry Hunchun to the Winthrop Cultural Council.
Second. Well, I'll make the motion
Is
to,
there- Oh, okay, and Lemont and Tremont, do I have that right?
D'Entremont.
I was close,
Lee and
okay. All right, there
I'll
are
make a
three
motion to
appointments.
accept the council president's appointments.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for serving, we appreciate that, Joanne and Larry and Leanne. We appreciate your help. Now we're coming up to public comment.
Council President?
Yes.
Just whether it's public comment or new business, I just wanted to make mention again of the joint meeting of the DCR and the DPW subcommittee about the dog park location. I'd like to encourage people who may be interested to come and weigh in on that decision.
What time?
That will be 7 p.m. I'm not sure the location has been set just yet.
Yes.
Because I was talking to Joe D. this morning about it.
It was advertised at the senior center.
Senior center.
Okay, Joe
7
didn't tell me, so it's the senior center, that's good.
It's a senior-
It's 7 p.m. on
7
Thursday, the
So
25th.
it's the DCR
Tuesday,
at
July
6.
25th.
That's what I said, the 25th. Okay. Thank you.
And any other public comment? Any public comment? Chief?
Just, I know this is probably in Steve's court, but if we're looking at Governor's Drive through Central, can we get 2 quotes on the RFP, one for night work, one for day work? We've had issues there with the businesses when we've done work in that pit right outside the marketplace. And also, it is the main thoroughfare to our Fort Banks Elementary School. So I just want council to kind of be aware that these are the issues that we get the complaints on a daily basis. And I think it's worth weighing the costs and how much. I'm sure the night work is going to be drastically different, but we could probably look at 7 to 3 a.m. Instead of 8 to 4, right during our busiest commuting time. And I just wanted the Public Safety Committee and the town manager, I got a text message from Deanna, and the figures that she had emailed me are far different, and she's going to email them to you when she gets back. So there's a modification in what was presented.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
If no other public comment, we're going to go into public relations upcoming events. I have to apologize, and I went to my right, but we have a proclamation here that's very difficult for me to read. Could you give us a little idea what this is about?
Let me see it.
I have to see my eye doctor again, I guess. So. Can you read it off here? Okay. We have it here.
You want to read it?
Wow, I can read it.
You can read it.
Believe it or not, if I close one
It's on
eye,
my phone. You can-
if I close one eye, I can read it. A proclamation, whereas Massachusetts supports the Great Seal of the United States of America, which bears the inscription E pluribus unum, which translates from the Latin as out of many, one I, and whereas the greatest asset of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is its people, and whereas the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is comprised of multicultural, multi-ethnic, and multiracial citizens, and whereas friendship, collegiality, civility, respect, and kindness are commonly shared ideals of the collective citizenry of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and whereas the Towards the I Pluribus Unum initiative has invited communities across the United States of America to join in inspiration and reflection of the beauty and richness of the diverse peoples of the great nation, while reaching out with a spirit of amity toward one another annually on the second Sunday in June. And whereas House Bill 2745, Chapter 163 of the Acts of 2015 of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts establishes the second Sunday in June annually as its Race Amity Day. Now, therefore, Governor Baker declared June 11th, 2017 to be Race Amity Day, and urges all citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance, given this Executive Chamber Boston 23rd day of March in the year 2017. Signed, Governor Baker, Karen Polito, Lieutenant Governor, and William Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth.
It's about a month late.
Well, I think they sent it out and said, keep aware of this, and this will be an ongoing matter that the Commonwealth will be engaged in future days.
Well, we have received it. Thank you for
Yep.
reading it. I would appreciate it by the end. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll make an appointment with my eye doctor next few days. Anything else from the council? Council Biaggi?
I did want to mention that over the weekend, there was the inaugural Freedom Fighter 5K run walk that raised funds for Richard Honen's packaging to the troops. And I believe we have the over 60 winner in the building here, Chief Flanagan.
Oh.
Hey.
Can't get fast to get old. It was going real fast when it went by me.
I really could wait.
And then one more is just a quick, two dancers from Winthrop just defended their national championship, Bella Giuffre and, surprise, surprise, my daughter Shayla Voyage, and they won actually international this time. It was against a bunch of people from the United States, Russia, Australia, and Germany. So congratulations to them.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Anything else from the council? If not, we'll look to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Thank you all.